Hey everybody, welcome back to Captain Dunsel's Captain's Vlog. Today I'm going to try to wrap up the first episode of my Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log solo RPG. That is Living Nightmares. This is Act 3. Quick recap, end of Act 2, we saw the USS Terai engage this unknown ship that was heading towards the Zeta Psi system after it had previously gone in and aborted an attack on the Coldwater colony. The Terai attempted to make contact with the ship, didn't reply. They fired a warning shot, which got its attention. They engaged in some combat. They apparently were able to drive the ship away, but they did take some damage. The main computer system is offline for 24 hours estimated, and the communication system is off for 12 hours. And if that wasn't bad enough, just as we cut to the end of the scene, we see a Romulan scout ship decloak off the port bow of the Terai. And we know the Romulans were suspected of some espionage, and now here they are in Federation space. So we're going to figure out what they're doing here and try to wrap this up and figure out more about the attacking ship and this mystery alien ship that was discovered in the Zeta Omicron system and try to get everything settled. So I do have a very short entry in my first officer's log here. So first officer's log, supplemental. After intercepting the attacker outside the Zeta Psi system, the Terai was able to drive it off, but not without sustaining considerable damage. Our main computer is offline and communications are dead. If that wasn't bad enough, we are now facing down a Romulan scout vessel with unknown intentions. So the act starts, we're on the bridge. There's just a kind of a sense of chaos about everything. Ellis has asked for status reports. We already know the computer systems are down, which is going to significantly impact the ability for the Terai to really do anything. Sensors, weapons, navigation, all that stuff is going to be impacted over the next 24 hours. We don't have communication, so we can't reach out to the colonies. We can't communicate with Starfleet proper to notify them about the attackers, which is a problem. We can see that some of the members of the crew, like Wall, Karg, Rawl, those people who have had some experience in combat during the Dominion War, they're kind of taking this a little more in stride. They're already just kind of in damage control mode and they're ready to work. The younger members, the more inexperienced members of the crew, like Tekekchek, is in a bit of shock. And on top of everything, here we have this Romulan ship. So Romulan ship's on the view screen. Ellis turns to Karg and goes, "Hail them." And Karg immediately responds kind of very gruffly. He goes, "We can't." Ellis is suddenly reminded we have no communications. So Roll goes, I already have them targeted, sir. We have them in our sights. Shields are up. Ellis says, "Belay that order. They haven't attacked us yet. We don't know what their intentions are. Let's not escalate this any further. We've just got out of a very intense situation, but we need to find some way to communicate with them." So Wall says, "Well, our communications are down, but we still have 2 runabouts in the hangar bays, and they're completely functional, sir." Ellis goes, "Yeah, let's do that. Wall, you head down to the hangar bay. Let's get in contact with this Romulan ship and figure out what they want." So Wall heads down to the hangar bay, gets access to the Bois Brule again, gets on board, activates the communication system, and kind of pumps out this hailing frequency into the void around them. He goes, "Romulan vessel, this is Commander Wallace Lagaki of the USS Terai. Please identify yourself." And there's a bit of a pause, and he waits, and he repeats it. "Romulan scout vessel, this is the USS Terai. Please identify yourself." And another moment goes by, and there's a bit of a static, and he hears back, "We've been kind of trying to contact you for the last 5 minutes. You must have been hit worse than we thought." And Wallace responds, "Please identify yourself again." And he goes, "This is Dr. Pavar of the Romulan Science Assembly. There's something we need to discuss, Commander." Lagaki replies, "Would it have anything to do with why there's a Romulan ship in Federation space?" And the doctor responds, "It has more to do with those 2 ships out there." What What two ships are you talking about, Doctor? Pavar goes, the one that just attacked you and the one that you found in the Zeta Omicron system. Let's not delay this any further, Commander. This is equally important to both of us. We don't have enough space here on our scout ship, so I recommend you bring us aboard. Gaki thinks about it for a minute and kind of decides what other choice do they have to hear them out, right? So he responds and says, prepare to be beamed aboard. How many are with you? And Doctor says, myself and my attaché from the Romulan Star Empire. So we'll be beaming you aboard shortly. Stand by. So Lagaki sends down a message to Transporter Room 1, tells him, please be ready to receive a pair of guests into the transporter room. Do not engage until I am there and ready to give the order to beam them aboard, though. And then he sends a message up to the bridge. He goes, Bridge, this is Commander Lagaki. We will be receiving 2 Romulan guests shortly. Please have Lieutenant Commander Roll meet me in Transporter Room 1. And again, there's a very long pause. And Lagaki can only imagine what the discussion is on the bridge between Ellis and Karg and Rawl. But finally, he hears back from Ellis and goes, acknowledge, Commander. Rawl will be meeting you in the transporter room shortly. So we switch to a scene with the Rawl meets Lagaki just outside the transporter room. Rawl kind of gives her a look, and he kind of shrugs. They enter. Lagaki gives the order to the transporter chief to energize, and with a whoosh of light, we see these 2 Romulans board the ship. One of them is the traditional Romulan military attire that we saw in Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. Nothing new there. The other one is dressed what looks like to be civilian clothing. This kind of very dark green, almost black kind of wraparound tunic, and dark colored pants and boots. Definitely seems to be the one in charge, and Lagaki immediately assumes that this must be Dr. Pavar. So Wall walks up to him and goes, Dr. Pavar, I am Commander Lagaki. This is our Chief Security Officer, Lieutenant Commander Jamara Roll. Pavar nods and says, this is my attaché, Sub-Lieutenant Nanette. But if we could dispense with the typical human pleasantries, I need to see your captain immediately. Wall's like, follow me. So they go back to the conference room. They're not going to go to the captain's ready room. That might Ellis feels it's a little too personal for encounters with a Romulan, but they will entertain the Romulans in the conference room, and it's just going to be Ellis and Lagaki and Rawl. Lons and Karg are busy trying to get the ship back in order. The doctor is dealing with some injuries and stuff in the med bay, and Sanus will have the command chair on the bridge. So it's just the 3 of them plus the 2 Romulans. And as they sit down, Dr. Pavar turns to Ellis and goes, "We watched that display you put on, Captain. Commendable, but the outcome was, dare I say, inevitable." And Ellis responds and goes, it's Commander Edward Ellis, Doctor. And I do say we put up quite a fight, and looks like we drove that ship off. I commend my crew for their actions. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to discuss, apparently, you say we have something to discuss about both of our ships. So let's have it, Doctor. And the doctor says he's a very, very blunt kind of person. If it hasn't already been apparent, but he responds and goes, I know how we can stop this ship. And I'm ready to, we're ready to do that. We're ready to end this now. But I'm going to need your help, Captain. And Ellis kind of leans back He goes, well, I'm going to need a little bit more than that, Doctor. It seems you know a lot more about this than we do, so I'm ready to hear it. So the Romulan kind of leans forward, says, we encountered this ship nearly 3 years ago. It was drifting dead in space near one of our frontier colonies. I, as a member of the Romulan Science Assembly and a noted theoretical engineer within the Romulan Star Empire, was tasked with investigating this ship. We felt it might have some things to tell us and ideas for us to consider if we were to have to face the Dominion again. And keep in mind, this was, I guess again, might not be the right term, right? Keep in mind, this was before the Romulans entered the Dominion War. Me and my team were able to activate the ship, for lack of a better term. And our reward for that was the destruction of our ship, the death of most of my colleagues, and the near destruction of a Romulan world. I was held accountable for that, Captain. And I've been trying to chase this ship down ever since. And the Doctor lets that sink in. And finally, Rawl kind of turns to him and goes, you're responsible for this? The Doctor looks to her and goes, I believe I made that clear, Commander. The ship disappeared after it attacked us. I've been trying to track it since. We recently detected it on your side of the neutral zone. We were prepared to do what we needed to do to try to stop it. And it appears that now you are looking to do the same. I recommend we cooperate on this current venture. So Alice kind of thinks about this. He goes, what else do you know about? Where did it come from? What is it? What is its goal? And the sub-lieutenant kind of shoots the Doctor a look, and eventually the Doctor looks away and produces a pad, and he hands it to Ellis. Jamara and Waller on either side of him. They kind of lean into Ellis to read it over. He goes, Does that signal look at all similar to you, Captain? And he goes, yes, this looks like the signal that we've picked up from the derelict ship in the Zeta Omicron system. The Doctor nods. It is, but it's not the signal that is coming from the Zeta Omicron ship. It's a signal that was embedded. It was a search parameter embedded within the attacking vessel. I've come to call it the prey. What's the word I'm looking for? The prey directive, whatever. I'm trying to think of it. The prey factor. Let's call it the prey factor. Sure. Prey being PREY, and Wall goes prey as in predator in prey. And the Doctor nods. Yes, much as a hunter might search for certain marks to find its prey in the woods, this vessel apparently was designed to hunt for this particular point of data, this signal, this exact signal that is being generated by your ship in the Zeta Omicron system. It is a hunting ship, and that other ship is its prey. So, the Starfleet officers kind of kind of take this in for a moment. And they go, how did you figure this out? And he goes, well, I've been working on this for almost 3 years, Captain. This is all I have been doing. My goal has been to find the ship and understand everything there is to know about it. It is, so much of it is beyond my comprehension. It defies a lot of my understanding of engineering. It is probably older than the Romulan Star Empire and the Federation combined. A relic from some bygone era. Why it wants to hunt this other ship, I do not know. But that seems to be its only goal. And Jamar speaks up and goes, if that is its only goal, why did it attack the Coldwater colony? Why did it attempt to attack the Zeta Psi colony? Why did it attack your own colony, Doctor? The doctor sighs. It's searching for that signal, Lieutenant. That signal was embedded in Federation communication systems that were utilized by both your Coldwater colony and your Zeta Psi colony. And Jamar kind of smiles darkly and goes, of course you would know that. They bugged the whole system, Captain. Commander. Of course they know about our signal. And the doctor shoots back. We did not bug any one of your systems, Commander. Espionage is not my forte. But you don't deny that there was a tracking device embedded in one of our communication relays. And this is where the sub-lieutenant kind of speaks up and goes, every school child in Romulus knows that the Romulans spy on the Federation, just as easily as we know the Federation spies on the Romulans. This should not surprise you, Commander, nor does it surprise us. But I can guarantee you, we are not the ones that are responsible for that, and we're not aware of that. We're not involved in any part of that. But we do know that we've been picking up routine Federation signals from the border that have been embedded with this particular signal. That's how it was brought to our attention that the vessel was on its way to Federation space. And so the Ball's like, well, that's it. The communication relays used throughout this sector of space for routine communication with colonies, with Starfleet, with ships, with any sort of traffic within 150 light years of here. And if that signal were to be routed through communication relay 1, where the secondary signal was embedded, then it would be picked up by this ship and could be identified as a potential track to find its prey. And that's, the doctor nods and goes, now you understand. So now we see the importance of the signal. Roll goes, well, we have to shut the signal off now, Commander. There's no question about it. I said we should have done it before. Now there's no reason to not shut it down. We have to shut it down. And the doctor says, we can stop this. We can help you stop this. But we need some assurances from you first. And the captain goes, well, what kind of assurances do you need, Doctor? And the doctor looks at him and goes, we need possession of this vessel. We're going to take it back to the Romulan Star Empire. I'm going to tear it apart piece by piece, and we're going to finish the work that I've started. And Jamara shoots up and goes, absolutely not. We can't let the Romulans have this. This is ridiculous, Commander. We can't honor that whatsoever. And Alice tries to kind of stop her. She goes, you can't even consider this. And finally Wallace speaks up and goes, Commander, kind of shuts her down. And as a kind of there's this tense silence in the room, and Ellis turns to the doctor and goes, "The commander's comments aside, I don't think I can allow a Romulan ship to take possession of a vessel in Federation territory, regardless of the circumstances." And the doctor says, "Captain, let's be honest. Your ship took quite a beating. I surmise that, at the very least, your communication system is down. And based upon our preliminary scans, you may have more extensive damage. That vessel is now on its way to the next colony within Federation space that's using your relay system. And I'd hazard a guess, Captain, that right now you have no other way to stop it." And that kind of realization sets in, and the captain sends communication immediately to the bridge and goes, "Commander Ellis to the bridge." Sonos responds, "Yes, Commander." I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to do that myself. "Yes, Commander." "Sonos, do we have a track on that vessel, where it's headed, where it's gone?" And Sonos responds very succinctly, says, "Captain, with the systems down the way they are, our sensors are extremely limited. Once it left the system, we've been unable to successfully track it. We have a probability matrix of where it might be, but it's not precise." And there's kind of this grim, not smile that the doctor is trying to hold back kind of his smugness, understanding that the situation, realizing just how stuck the team on the Terai are. And Ellis thanks Sonos and closes the channel. And the doctor says, "I think you may have no other choice, Captain. I'm willing to help you. Our ship understands this hunter. It knows where to look. In fact, I could tell you right now where it's headed. I'm just asking for your help to help me get there." And Wall finally kind of turns to him and goes, Why do you need our help, Doctor? It seems like you have this figured out pretty well. In fact, I'd imagine that if you have gone across the neutral zone in pursuit of this thing, you wouldn't dare risk that kind of endeavor if you didn't already have a plan in place. And I think I'm going to have... Am I going to do a task roll? I want to do a task roll here very soon. I'm not sure if it's the time to do it yet. So I'm going to let Wall finish this thought out, right? So he's talking to the doctor and trying to kind of reason out what's going on here. And the doctor kind of leans back and goes, "You are correct, Commander. We do have a plan. And to be completely honest with you, it never involved the Federation to begin with. But circumstances have recently changed. And I think it's in the best interest of both of our governments that we handle this together." Jamar again speaks up and goes, What changed? What changed?" And there's initially no response. And the team kind of is thinking about this. And Wall goes, "There was a change. There was an initial attack on the colony, a priority distress signal, a Coldwater colony. soon after we boarded the alien vessel in Zeta Omicron system. Is that it, Doctor? Did we change something? And he's kind of smug. And then Roll realizes, no, that's not it. We removed the Romulan tracking device in Relay 1. They were directly interfacing with our communication system, and that's how they were tracking the signal. That's how they knew about the Zeta Omicron ship. That's how they've been pinpointing the location of this vessel, this hunter. That's how they knew about Coldwater Colony. That's how they knew about Zeta Psi. They were using that data, sir, even though they claim they know nothing about it. And again, there's just kind of this look of satisfaction on the doctor's mouth and goes, doctor's lips. And finally he speaks and goes, we believe we have a way of modifying the signal in order to terminate the hunter's search parameters. We were planning on using a algorithm that depended upon the frequency shift between the original signal and that of the relay system to make our modifications. But with the loss of that signal in your relay system, we don't have all of the parameters we need to successfully make our calculations and enact that program. And Roll goes, I knew it. I knew they were doing this. We can't trust them, Captain. We can't. Again, the commander kind of gives her a look and holds out a hand to stifle her. And the commander goes, so now you need our Federation communication system access to it in order to complete those calculations. Is that correct, Doctor? The doctor says that is accurate. But my terms do not change. Give us the ship. We give you the data to stop it. Wait, and who knows what might happen to your Federation colonies here on the frontier as they continue to use that relay system. So there's kind of a series of tense looks around the table. And this is the point now where I want to do a roll. Okay. Oops, what is this here? Wrong thing. What am I looking at here? Oh boy, I was using the wrong thing this whole time. Okay. I was looking up some stuff on the how to actually use Captain's Roll. But here we have our dice. Okay. So what I'm going to do is Wall is going to do what he does best. He's going to do what he's done most of his career. He is going to do some negotiation. Right? So that's going to be a presence plus a command roll. Plus he's got the focus of negotiation. He's basically going to try to convince this doctor that it's in the best interest of everyone to do it Starfleet's way, or at least to kind of back down from his very rigid stance that it's his way or the highway, right? So presence of 10 plus command 5. We have a task target of 15. So let's find out what we got. There we go. So we hit it. We got 15. We got 2. So it's 2 successes. So that gives us momentum. We're going to save the momentum for now. We don't need it yet. Yeah. So Walt's going to kind of take over and go, you know, Doctor, I think the Federation would be able to overlook the admission of espionage on one of their communication relay systems, in addition to the blatant violation of the Romulan neutral zone by a government-sanctioned Romulan vessel crewed by Romulan military personnel. But I think it's going to require some compromise from you in return. The Federation is more than happy to provide you with and share data regarding the technological information of this hunter vessel, as well as any other vessels we may encounter during this mission. But I think that's about as far as we are willing to go. Would you say that's about right, Commander Ellis? And Ellis nods. And the doctor kind of looks down, sighs, and looks back up at the other side of the table and goes, "Agreed, Commander. We'll do it your way." So we succeed there. Very good. We're able to sort it out. So what does the doctor need? So they kind of discuss the terms, and they decide in order to enact this program, they need to get to the source. They need to get to the ship in the Zeta Omicron system. And the Romulans haven't been there yet. That's clear. They're aware of it just through their interception of the Federation communication data, as well as what the intent of this hunter vessel is. But they haven't actually been there. So number one, the Wall has been there with an away team, so he's familiar with it. But they need to get there in order to implement this program and to effectively modify the signal to stop this hunter from hunting. So they suggest taking both ships to the Zeta Omicron system and then having a party beam aboard the derelict vessel, both Romulans as well as a small Federation crew, in order to get this taken care of. Ellis goes that the only problem with that plan is right now our ship needs some not insignificant repairs. Don't think it's going to be of much value or use to have the Terai attempt to make the trip to the Zeta Omicron system with this computer down, navigation being affected. It's going to take too long, right? And this ship is out there somewhere. We need to get this taken care of before it impacts another colony. So the obvious answer is, well, let's take the runabout again. Runabout has about the same top speed as a Romulan scout ship. Both the runabout, the Bois Brule, and the Romulan scout ship will go to the Zeta Omicron system and sort this out, right? So with that in mind, the one other thing I want to roll for real quick before we go is, and this is going to be for Jamara. And it's going to be none of these really work. Well, I guess maybe it's definitely going to be security. This is more kind of I'll call it sensors, because she is kind of evaluating these Romulans. She has some history with them, as we're about to find out. And I want to see if she has any sense of kind of their overall intentions for this. So since it's kind of an insight kind of thing, we're just going to call it sensors. It's a sense of a certain nature. And then we have a security of 2. So it's going to be a target roll of 11. Again, this is just to kind of get a general sense of what these Romulans are about. So unfortunately fails. Okay, so she can't glean any further insight on them, other than the fact that she clearly is not super enthused about them. Okay, so to wrap up this meeting, Ellis says, "Commander Lagaki, I want you to put together a team. Doctor, let's say we launch in, say, an hour." And the doctor kind of nods and agrees with that. And then as the conference doors open, there is a gold-shirted crewman who's clearly a security officer, and the Commander Ellis turns to the doctor and says, Crewman Logan here will make sure you make it safely back to your ship if you want to follow him. So the two Romulans leave. Door closes behind them, and then it's just our three commanders in the conference room. And Ellis turns to Rawl and goes, Lieutenant Commander, I'm going to assume that you were trying to be helpful back there. And that's why I'm not going to read you the riot act regarding your behavior with the Romulans. And Rawl responds and goes, if you want me to apologize for my words, Captain, Commander, damn it. Even they have me doing that, sir. If you want me to apologize for my words, I'll do that. But I won't apologize for my feelings against the Romulans. And the commander responds, I'm not asking you to change your feelings, Commander. I'm asking you to show a certain level of professionalism in a very unusual situation. I don't have any love lost with the Romulans either. But it's clear that they may have a solution to a very big problem that we're dealing with right now. And I need everyone's focus on that. And Jamar just kind of gets rankled and goes, I'll tell you what, sir. I can be professional. I can get along with anyone if I have to, if I'm ordered to. But I'll tell you right now, do not trust them. Do not trust either of them. I've been around enough Romulans to know that. Wall goes, is there anything in particular that you feel is a concern here, Commander? And Rawl kind of shakes her head and goes, they're Romulans, sir. I served alongside Romulans for 7 months as part of the 41st Fleet during the Dominion War. I've seen enough of them. I've dealt with enough of them. I watched as a squad of Valdor ships turned, cloaked, and ran, and allowed a dozen Federation ships to get cut to ribbons by Dominion forces. They're duplicitous. They're self-serving. And I don't trust them now. And I dare say I would not trust him on this mission. And Alice goes, I appreciate your candor, Commander, but I don't know if I can take all of that into consideration. Commander Lagaki, what's your thoughts on an away team? And the commander goes, I know this might seem highly circumspect given the situation, but I really would like to have Lons come back with me. His familiarity with the computer systems would be invaluable. I'd also like to have the doctor come with us because she had some very unique insights into the ship during our last conference call and conference meeting. And of course, with the ship being partially biological, her skills may prove invaluable. And I do agree with Commander Rawl that we should probably have a security detachment, but that should not include Commander Rawl. I think her outward, what's the word I'm looking for? Her outward appearance towards the Romulans is just going to make this more difficult to accomplish, sir. And Rawl's about to object, and Ellis just holds up a hand and says, agreed, Commander. Commander Rawl, why don't you recommend a security detachment to accompany Commander Lagaki and his away team aboard the Broad Rule. I will need you here in case any further tactical situations come up. Is that understood? And she kind of, through almost gritted teeth, goes, that understood, Captain. You will have my recommendation shortly. And she exits the room, and there's kind of this moment between the two commanders, Lagaki and Ellis. Finally Ellis just goes, "Good luck out there, Commander." And Lagaki says, "Thank you, sir. We'll get it done." So we then shift to our next scene. We see the runabout and the Romulan scout ship are coming into Zeta Omicron system. They're coming upon the derelict ship again. And aboard the runabout, we have Lagaki, we have Roy, we have this unnamed security officer, and we have the doctor. Okay. And there's a moment where the doctor turns to Lagaki and goes, "So where's the ship now?" And Lagaki says, It's about 6 hours out from the let's come up with a colony name here. I don't know. It is 6 hours out from the seven and 17 from the Eta Sigma column, from the Eta Sigma system. Okay, so the ship, the Hunter is 6 hours up from the Eta Sigma system. Once we launched a runabout, we did send a emergency signal to Starfleet to make them aware of the situation. But the next nearest vessel, the USS Norsky, is more than 2 days away at maximum warp. This might be our. If this doesn't work, I'm not sure if the Terai is going to be able to intercept it in time, and I don't know if it's going to be in the right kind of shape to make another run at that ship. So they come up to the derelict ship, and there's a communication from the Romulans. It goes, "Dr. Pivar here. Are you ready to begin, Commander?" "And we're ready. We sent you over the data and schematics that we obtained from the ship the last time. What's your recommendation, Doctor? This is your program that we're implementing." And Doctor says, "Yes. I do believe we should access the computer terminal to the aft of the vessel where you discover the distress signal originated. But I also have I was going to say inkling. That doesn't sound like a Romulan term. I also believe that we should probably have a second detachment at the original terminal. Once we activate it from the aft system, we may be able to it's getting late here, guys. Trying to think of words here off the top of my head, and it's just not flowing as much as I'd like to, but I do want to try to get this done. So what the doctor wants to do is have one party go to the aft terminal, another party go to the main chamber where the team originally beamed into. Even though that terminal was not accessible at the time, he does think that maybe once their computer program takes hold in the aft terminal, it will open up some of the other systems on the ship. And he thinks it would be useful to have someone there to monitor that from that secondary system. So Commander Lagaki agrees to this and goes, "That sounds good, Commander. How about I accompany you at the aft of the vessel, and your sub-lieutenant Nanette accompany the rest of my team to the main chamber?" And there's a pause, and the Dr. Pivar says, "Actually, Commander, I would prefer that Sub-Lieutenant Nanette come with me. I am going to need his assistance in activating this program. No offense to you and your team, but we are familiar with this, not you." So Lukaki's like, okay. So he's like, all right, Doctor Dr. Imowu and Lieutenant Roy will go to the main chamber to monitor the signal from there. The crewman. I gotta come up with a name for this guy. I already have we had crewman Logan showed up before. Okay, so crewman Logan will accompany me in the aft of the ship with the two Romulans. Okay, because obviously if there's going to be any sort of security issues, it's going to be with the two Romulans in the aft of the ship. So they put the runabout on autopilot, right? They and then they split off. The Dr. Imowu and Roy beam into the main chamber, and then the rest of our team beams into the aft chamber. Okay, so they beam in there, and again, it's just the aft chamber is this very cramped area, right? And the commander kind of points to the obvious terminal and goes, "Well, there it is, Doctor. That's where the signal is originating. That's where we believe the signal is coming from." So he nods and goes, "All right, Commander, it's we'll get to work." We have already you've already given us your you've given us the logistical communication information from the runabout that will serve as the substitute for the relay information that they were originally going to use to enact this program to complete their calculations to make the effective modifications, right? So they're going to work on that. And Ligaki and the crewmen are kind of not really anything to do here at the moment. But we do have the team on the other side of things looking at stuff. And I'm going to have them do a task roll. I'm going to have the doctor do the task roll here. Because they're monitoring systems on that end, and they're seeing, there was all this data that was crawling across the terminal last time that was there, and at that point it was a little less intelligible because nobody knew what was really going on, right? But now that they've had time to review the data brought back by Roy and the team, and the doctors had a chance to review it as well, some of this is making more sense. So I want to see if we can glean anything from that. So we have computer and medicine. It's a 10. We still have momentum. We have a 1 and a 2. Sounds good. So that's really good. I think a 1 is a critical success. So it's either way, it's pretty good. Obviously, we don't need to spend momentum. 2 successes is pretty fantastic. Is there a critical success? I mean, I think even if there wasn't, like, we can assume that the doctor is probably, if she had a focus in this, right, she's probably going to roll under that focus. So I think this is a pretty good success. So the doctor's reading this information, is going to get a lot of data from here. Plus medicine 2 successes. So she's going to get a lot of information from here. How does that help us? Well, let's see. So we have, where are there? So we got 2 left. Perfect. So a few minutes go by, and finally there's the doctor, Imo kind of cuts in on the communication channel. And keep in mind that inside this ship, everyone here has, they're wearing environmental suits, right? Because this is an ammonia-based atmosphere. So we hear the Dr. Imo reach out to Ligaki and goes, Commander, is this a secure channel? And Ligaki responds, that's affirmative, Doctor. Only I can hear you. What seems to be the issue? So Commander, we've been reviewing the data, and remember what I said about how the signal reminded me of a person like sleeping, like REM sleep. And the guy goes, yeah, yeah, that stuck in my mind. It's actually one of the reasons that I had you come on this away team mission. I was hoping you might be able to get some more information, more insight into the biological nature of this ship once we got here. She goes, yeah, well, Roy and I have definitely been doing that, and I've been reviewing the studies and reviewing the data that you guys initially recovered and compared to what we're going to have now. And this is going to sound strange, Commander, but I think the ship is asleep. And he goes, like I was, come again, Doctor? Can you give me some more information on that? So, yeah, I know. Speaking with Roy, his thought was the ship was kind of in a low power mode due to potential, it just been hanging out here in space for a long time, right? It had trouble booting up, and he thought it was maybe kind of in a low power mode due to some sort of disaster or other thing. I think though it's sleeping. It's in some sort of restorative, almost comatose vegetative state. And the signal we're seeing is a expression of that, almost a distress call. And that's one of the reasons that Roy had such trouble trying to activate it. It is a living thing, sir, and it's resisting waking up because it's not ready to. It's almost caught in some sort of deep sleep, waiting for a time when it's good enough to wake up. Think of it almost as kind of someone in a comatose state. Their body is trying to heal from some sort of great trauma, and some of the data here suggests that from a biological perspective, this thing was undergoing great stress, maybe great pain. And I have to wonder if it has anything to do with that thing hunting it. The guy goes, I agree, Commander, that makes a lot of sense. So what happens if Dr. Bavar here actually does wake it up? And Imawu, you can almost kind of hear her shrug over the comm station, goes, I don't know, Captain, but I don't know, Commander. I'll remember that. I don't know, Commander, but I strongly recommend that we abort this procedure until we can figure out more. I don't feel in good conscience that we can do this. So as this conversation is going on, and Lukaki's kind of been just distracted and goes, well, okay. Thank you, Doctor. Let me discuss this with Dr. Bavar. I'll get right back to you. Lukaki out, and as he's been distracted. He's been kind of looking away because he doesn't want the Romulans to potentially read his lips or anything to even know that he's speaking, right? And similarly, crewman Logan's been doing the same thing. They've been kind of facing away because they've both been hearing this. And they don't want the Romulans to suspect that something's going on. So as he kind of hangs up the communication, he turns around and he opens up the communication line to Dr. Bavar, and he goes, Dr. Bavar. And as he does that, he sees out of the corner of his eye this kind of blur of motion, and it's Sub-Lieutenant Nanette. And he comes out of nowhere. He's brandishing this blade, and he makes a slash at crewman Logan. And he does this and kind of knocks him back, and crewman Logan hits the wall and falls back. And almost as quickly he comes around and makes for. You can tell from the blade has now punctured crewman Logan's environmental suit, so he's kind of laying there, and he's pressing his right arm around the wrist of his environmental suit to try to prevent the atmosphere from leaking out of his suit. And now Lieutenant Nanette is coming for Lagaki with this knife branch. So with this knife in hand. So that gets us to a little bit of combat here. So I guess Roll was right. We have these traitorous, duplicitous Romulans, and we're going to do a hand-to-hand prolonged extended conflict, which is going to do daring plus security. And in this case, we're tracking hits here similar to how we did them before, right? So I'm going to say the opponent has the initiative in this case. So normally that would, I start with one hit if the opponent has initiative. So I think I'm going to have to do that. So we're going to do extended combat. And both me and my attacker have 3 hit points, basically. So Nanette has initiative. So Lagaki starts with 1 hit. We'll go from there. So daring plus security is the roll here. Luckily, Wall has a decent amount. He's got 9 plus 3, so 12. So it's not terrible. We still have 1 momentum stored up. And we have for success on the first task roll here. So task 3, roll 1. Daring plus security, which is 12. Success. So 1 hit to Nanette. 1 for Lagaki. Okay. So narratively, what happens? Nanette makes a lunge for Lagaki. He kind of spins out of the way, gives Nanette kind of a chop to the side of his head to knock him off balance. Okay, and now we're back on equal footing. So now we got to see where we go from here. What is the second task roll we have? 16 and 12, so just barely, but we do have another success. Okay. So now with Nanette kind of caught off guard, it is Lagaki who kind of strikes back, counterattacks, does kind of tries to feint with a jab, and then comes underneath, kind of hits him right in the gut with a solid punch, knocks the knife out of Nanette's hands, right? And now Lagaki's got the upper hand. So we have our third roll here. Can Wall finish this guy off? Yeah, 6 and 16. So this is pretty short bit of combat. Third success. Okay, Nanette is out. Okay. So with the knife out of his hands, the guy he comes in, kind of grabs Nanette by the shoulders, kind of gives him hits him to right in the chest with his kneecap, knocks Nanette to the ground and knocks him out there. And Lagaki's a little bit winded. He turns to Logan. Logan kind of nods that he's okay, although you can still see a little bit of vapor atmosphere leaking from his suit. And that's when Lagaki turns to Dr. Pavar, and Pavar goes, "Thank you for your help, Commander. This has been a most successful mission." And with that, the Pavar and the defeated Nanette, who's kind of laid out on the ground, they both beam away and presumably back to the scout ship. And so Lagaki's kind of taken aside here. So what happens next? So they're back here, and then Lagaki sends a message to the doctor and Roy and goes, Lagaki to Roy, what's going on over there? Can you tell me what's happening? And Roy goes, I was just about to ask you the same thing. The system went haywire on our end. What's happening over there? I thought you were going to tell the doctor to stop this. The guy goes, we've had some complications, Lieutenant. Dr. Bavar and the sub-lieutenant have beamed away. And he seemed to indicate that he was successful with the program. And Roy goes back, yeah, no kidding, he did. But he didn't shut down that signal, sir. It looks like he amplified it quite a bit. I think he forced this vessel to wake up, and it's amplified the distress signal considerably. I think there's no question at all that that hunter vessel is going to be here before too long. I think we need to get out of here. So I goes, understood. Let's get ready, beam out of here as soon as you can. Crewman Logan needs some assistance. I'm going to do an emergency beam out with him immediately. So Lagaki and Logan beam out back to the runabout. Nagaki, starts assisting Logan with getting his environmental suit off, and you can tell Logan's kind of breathing a little bit heavily at this point because I think his atmosphere is leaking probably quicker than he would have liked, and maybe he's also just a little bit still in shock from the attack. But he lets Nagaki know, I'm all right, sir. I'm all right. Let's don't worry about me. Nagaki gets back to the control console. He notices that Roy and the doctor aren't there yet, so he sends him a signal. Goes, Lieutenant, Doctor, I'd like you back here immediately. And Roy responds, I sure would like to be back there, sir, but it looks like things have taken a turn over here. The ship is certainly waking up, and it's not too happy about it. It looks like, well, Doctor, how would you explain it? She goes, it's pissed. It's pissed. It's not happy. And you almost hear kind of some rumbling, some loud noises in the background. And there's a lot of things going on over here, Captain, Commander. But Roy tells me that some sort of deflector screen was activated almost immediately after the ship went back online. I think it's interfering with our transporter code. We're not going to be able to beam back over here now. We'll see what we can do. And Roy says, I'll work to see what I can do to shut it down, sir. But in the meantime, I think we're going to be over here for a little while. Commander Lockhart goes, understood. I will touch base with you. I'm going to see if we can find that scout ship. So as that conversation wraps up, we see on the view screen, you can see far in the distance, the Rotman scout ship is turning away from the derelict ship and back out of the asteroid field, and it cloaks. Like he's like, damn it! It's gonna. Of course, it's gonna cloak, right? So he tries to. Of course, he can't hail the Terai. He tries to do a scan of the system to see if there's any indications of the hunter ship yet. He assumes it's probably going to be on its way before too long, but right now the runabout isn't showing anything. So he tries to send a hail out to the doctor. He goes, Commander Lagaki to Dr. Bavar. Dr. Bavar, please respond. Commander Lagaki to Dr. Bavar. Dr. Bavar, I know you're out there. You know that ship's coming for us. That was your plan, wasn't it? It wasn't to shut down the signal. It was to bring that hunter here. And there is a pause. At this point, Crewman Logan has come in. He sits down at the other console on the runabout because he's thinking maybe there's going to be a little bit of pew pew going on here soon. So maybe as a security officer, he can kind of help back up Lagaki with that. And then there's a response. He goes, "You are astute, Commander. I do feel some regret in deceiving you. On the other hand, you probably should have listened to your security officer. You're right. I wasn't here to shut down that signal. As I said, my intention was to find that ship and bring it back to Romulan space and make it answer for what it did to me and my people 3 years ago. It killed my crew. It devastated a Romulan colony. And it ruined my career. I became a scapegoat for the Romulan Science Academy, for Romulan Science Assembly, for the Romulan Navy, for their failures and their cover-up of what this thing did. I've spent my last 3 years of my life preparing for this moment. And in a moment, you will see the culmination of that work. I have on board and I'm going to roll here real quick. What kind of thing do they have on board? 16. Oh, I don't like that one at all. I'm looking at random radiation here. 10. I have on board a kinoplasmic kinoplasmic disruptor system that will completely incapacitate that hunter ship as soon as it comes within the system. Feel free to watch, Commander, but I wouldn't get too close. Dr. Bavar out. So, yeah, Nagaki's like, oh, geez, okay. So somewhere out there, and this is somewhere out there, there's this unknown Romulan ship, and as this conversation is completed with Dr. Bavar, and he kind of terminates the hail, sure enough, we see warping in the hunter vessel. Comes in and it's got all its little tentacles and looking very menacing. It doesn't seem like the attack that Terai did to it seems to have slowed it down at all. In fact, you have to wonder if the attack really convinced it to stop, or whether it was just distracted by another signal that was coming in from another colony, right? So, but sure enough, this massive signal has caused it to appear out of nowhere, and as it approaches the system ahead, several million kilometers ahead, we see the little Romulan scout ship decloak. Nagaki attempts to hail the doctor one more time to kind of convince him to back off, but clearly he doesn't have any interest in that. And you see out ahead of the cockpit and the leading edge of the scout ship, there's this massive buildup of energy, which must be this kinoplasmic device, and it's kind of this scarlet hue, and it kind of flashes intermittently, almost too bright to even look at directly, and suddenly there's this lance of energy that goes out towards the hunter, and for a moment the entire screen goes white. It's like overloaded. The view screen itself is kind of overloaded by this electroplasmic energy that emanates from this detonation of this kinoplasmic device. But as it subsides, we see that the hunter seems unaffected, and now it has suddenly done a pinpoint focus on the Romulan ship itself. And it lances out with its own kinetic cutting beam and slices right through the heart of this scout ship, like a hot knife through butter. And the scout ship is just completely rendered in two. And a few moments later, what remains of that scout ship is just erupts into just a bright flash of light, and it's gone. It's been destroyed. And again, the hunter doesn't seem to have been affected by that whatsoever. And now we see the hunter ship. It changes its direction and suddenly moves at high speed directly towards this derelict ship that's now awake and has 2 Federation crew members on it. So now Nagaki's got to figure out what he's going to do. So he hails Roy and goes, Lieutenant Roy, Please tell me you have some good news there. Is that shield down yet? And Roy goes, I'm working on it, sir. I think I might have something in a moment. Is there any good news over by you? The commander goes, negative, Lieutenant. The doctor's plan was unsuccessful. The hunting vessel is now heading directly towards you. I'm gonna try to distract it. The next time you hear my signal, I need you to try to make sure that shield is down, or this might be a real short trip for us. Commander out. So what is Lagaki going to do? Well, he is going to try to distract this ship and get it on its tail. He is not a good engineer. Not a good engineer at all. But we do have our momentum. And I think this is going to be a daring kind of thing. So we're gonna try to maximize it as much as we can. What he's going to do is try to replicate the signal through the runabout systems, because again, the runabout was tied into what the doctor was doing. It was replicating the signal that was coming from the relay in order to help the doctor make his calculations to program this what ultimately was overriding the initial system to wake up this derelict ship. So Lagaki is going to try to reprogram that to blast out another signal to confuse the ship and give Roy a little bit more time and lead it away as best he can. So let's see what he can do. And he does just barely succeed on that task. So this will be our fifth and final task. Thankfully, we are successful there. Okay, so we had to roll 10. We got a 10 and a 12. We're successful. Perfect. Okay. So Lagaki is able to blast out this signal. And it's just enough that it seems to kind of confuse the hunter, and now the hunter comes around to the runabout. Now it's bearing down on the runabout at a very high rate of speed. It's possible that the runabout's not even at full impulse, is not going to be able to outrun this thing for very long. And crewman Logan goes, Captain, Commander, do you want me to shoot it? And the commander goes, no, crewman Logan, I think we've found that's not terribly effective. What I want you to do is get ready for emergency transport back to the other ship. We're going to have to evacuate the Blob Rule and hope for the best. So he gives a signal back to Roy and goes, Roy, do you have some good news for me? And you know what? I'm going to, just for the sake of fairness, I have my momentum left. I'm going to spend it and say, yeah, Roy, as the miracle worker that he is, he's found a way around the shield. Roy goes, yes, Commander, I got the shield down. Are you ready to transport us aboard? And Commander Lagaki says, that's a negative, Lieutenant. In fact, I am ready to transport back to your location. We're going to have to abandon ship. I'm sending out a distress signal now to the Federation, and we're going to bring some. I'm bringing along all of our extra what's the wording for hazardous environmental supplies aboard the ship. We may have to stay on that vessel for a little while longer. Lagaki out. So he's got the ship moving at full speed. He and Logan grab environmental suits. There's a backup suit for Logan. There's some backup air scrubbers and generators and things like that to be able to survive in the ammonia-based environment for a little bit longer. And he sends out this distress call. And this whole time, the hunter vessel is getting closer and closer. And Lagaki gives the computer the order to self-destruct the runabout, and gives a countdown timer of 60 seconds. And once that happens, Lagaki and Logan beam out of the runabout. And then they beam back onto our alien vessel. And Roy's like, what happened out there, sir? He said, well, let's just say we're going to have a little bit more time to explore this vessel. Hopefully we can kind of sort some things out here. All right. So our next scene, we see an exterior shot of the Terai. It's moving through warp, and then we get into Ellis's ready room, and Wall walks in. And initially, Ellis doesn't look up to him. He's looking at his computer screen, and finally, again, still looking at the computer, Ellis starts talking and goes, Commander, I don't know if Starfleet's going to look favorably on a starship that loses a runabout in its first mission. And Wall thinks about it for a moment, and he responds, well, to be fair, sir, they were tempting fate by naming a runabout after a forest fire. And Ellis responds and goes, I'll make sure to note that to the director of Fleet Yard Operations, Commander. You took an awful risk out there. You were really banking on Lieutenant Roy getting those shields down, and you were banking on someone being able to rescue your entire crew off of that derelict ship before you ran out of oxygen in those environmental suits. And you took a bit of a risk in assuming that your plan was going to work and stop that hunter from destroying that ship. Lagaki responds, goes, well, sir, I don't think it was as much of a risk as it looks like. I trusted Lons was going to get that shield down, and he did. And when I sent that distress signal, I programmed it to signal repeatedly every half hour until it got acknowledgement from a Federation starship that it had been received. I knew that, according to Lon's estimates, the Terai would have communications back within a couple of hours, and you would certainly come and get us once that was done. And if for some reason Roy's estimates were wrong, the USS Norsky was about 2 days away at maximum warp, and we would have had enough oxygen and supplies to make it until they arrived. Ellis responds and goes, well, those are some good assumptions, but you would have been at the very outside edge of survivability if we assumed the Norsky was going to get there. If our communications hadn't been up on time, if the main computers hadn't been up in time, what happens then, Commander? Lagaki responds, well, I had a plan for that too, sir, but I'd rather not think about it at the moment. Alice goes, fair enough. But I still don't understand why'd you think that the warp core breach was going to do anything to that hunter ship after you saw what it did to the Terai, and after you saw how ineffective the doctor's kinoplasmic weapon was against it? And Gaki just kind of shrugs and goes, well, that one was pretty straightforward, sir. I've yet to see much of anything that can survive a warp core breach at close range. So Ellis sits back and thinks for a moment and goes, you still had one other choice, didn't you, Commander? once Lons had those shields down, you could have beamed Lieutenant Roy and the doctor back on that runabout. Could have warped out of the system. Could have been safely away from the hunter and back to the Terai. You could have saved your away team a lot simpler. So I'm still struggling to understand why you decided to sacrifice the Bois Brule and potentially put the lives of your away team at risk on an alien vessel. What was your thinking there? And Gaki, he finally he sits down across from Ellis. Says, well, one thing got to me from Dr. Pavar when he was discussing that ship. He kept calling it a hunter. And he kind of he had such an anthropomorphic view of it, the hunter and the prey. And I kept thinking about how it seemed more animalistic. It was really, I guess the technical term would be a predator and prey, and not a hunter. Ellis interrupts him and goes, I guess I'd expect that from a linguist. And Ligaki continues, well, and, you know, are you familiar with the concept of habituation? Ellis kind of shakes his head. It's the idea that a predator species becomes too familiar with humans or any other humanoid life form. It no longer fears them. It sees them as the prey, as the object of its attention. And I think, considering that hunter ship's behavior and the fact that the Terai attacked it and it survived, that Dr. Bavar attempted to destroy it and it survived, and that it could associate that signal with our colonies. My concern was, even if we allowed it to finish off the Zeta Omicron ship, it was now habituated to our Federation, and it would continue to attack Federation targets throughout this sector until it was eventually stopped. And I felt that was a risk that I was not willing to take, sir. Ellis contemplates that for a moment. So that's a fair assessment, but maybe a bit of a reach. And then Lugaki continues and goes, the other reason, sir, is that discussion Dr. Imowu had with me aboard the vessel, where she said that she thought it was a living thing. It was asleep. It was alive. And again, this predator was hunting it, and we effectively gave Dr. Bavar the tools and resources to allow that hunter to attack it, to kill it. We left it vulnerable, sir, and I felt that we had a duty to protect it. We interfered in its natural life cycle. We allowed the hunter to find it, and I felt that we had to, at that point, had an obligation to stop the hunter from killing it. And Ellis goes, that's another fair point. And for what it's worth, Commander, in my report to Starfleet, I completely support your decision and the reason behind it. And there may be a board of inquiry regarding the loss of the Bois Brule, but I think ultimately Starfleet will see it your way. In fact, my understanding is they've already planned a scientific survey team to explore the Zeta Omicron vessel, as well as what remains of the Hunter vessel, to learn more about that predator-prey relationship, if you want to call it that. You may also be interested to know that we've heard back from the Romulans. Apparently, Dr. Bavar's mission was unsanctioned by the Romulan government, and they disavowed any knowledge of a sub-lieutenant Annette working with him. Laki goes, that is interesting. The Romulans, of course, blame him for what happened with the Hunter vessel. And the Federation has extended an offer, as we extended one to Dr. Bavar, to share our knowledge of the technologies on board the Hunter ship. So it looks like maybe relationships with the Romulans aren't as bad as we expected. We had worried about. And I think that's a feather in our cap as well, Commander. I will say I feel a little bit left out on this mission. Having just been left on the bridge, I don't know, Commander. I don't know what to say about it, but something catches me wrong. Being in command and yet not being in the center of it all. That makes sense. I don't know what to say about that wall. And Lagaki kind of mulls it over and goes, well, sir, I think that's... I've been around a lot of commanding officers on a lot of different ships. And I think one of the defining characteristics of a good commanding officer is wanting to have your hands on the wheel, but realizing that in order to do your job successfully, you have to make sure there are others who are doing the real piloting. That is the burden of all good captains, sir. And Ellis kind of looks up at that and smiles slightly. And I think that's where we're going to end the scene. So that'll be the end of the episode Living Nightmare. And look forward to the next episode. I think I'll probably do maybe a recap and kind of look back on how this one went, and then look forward to the next mission. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope we'll see you next time. Take care. Have fun out there. Bye.